What's going on, everybody? This is Dave. Welcome back today to another season review. I'm very sorry if I sound a little bunged up. I've currently got a bit of a cold right now, but here we're going for something which is a second time lucky. I'm joined by Brian, also known as Gendo FM, also known as RLK Dragon. Brian, how are you doing today, sir?
I can say I'm doing better than you, all things considered, but thank you very much for having me on.
No problem. Yeah, as I said, me and Brian actually tried to record this. It went really well, but there was a few audio issues. But we don't have to go into that too much. We are currently recording this. Well, it's not actually as late as I thought we'd do it, to be fair, Brian. Obviously, Brian is on the other side of the world to me. Currently living in, is it Chicago, Brian?
I'm currently based out of Chicago, yes, and it's a fine day today, not like all the rain that we've had over the last couple days. It's nice and sunny out.
Perfect. That is good. Now, if you guys haven't caught season review before, it's just basically where I talk to some football manager YouTubers, maybe streamers as well, like yourself, Brian. We talk about YouTube and Twitch, about their year with Football Manager and so on as well. So, for you, over the last year, Brian, over the last 12 months, how do you feel your year on Twitch and YouTube has gone?
Definitely over the last year, everything has exploded, more so on the YouTube side than the Twitch. Twitch has been more steady growth, but thanks to the shout outs from Ben and from Jack, I had a lot more eyes on me, which gave me a lot more credence to improving my overall quality of work. Looking at where I was this time last year, I was kind of mumbling, kind of low to the ground, kind of low production quality, and now I'm get a green screen going, trying to be more animated, do better with my words, commentary and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I feel like over the last year, I've grown not just as a channel, but as a content creator in this industry, whatever.
So for Football Manager, obviously not a lot of people, well, in America actually play it. I don't know if there's many people on YouTube doing it at all. So how kind of did you get into the game as such?
You're right. There really isn't a lot of American Football Manager YouTubers out there. I think myself and FM Yank are
Yeah.
the two most prominent ones within the Football Manager community. But how I got started was, well, it all goes back to how I got started in watching football in general. It was right after the 2010 World Cup, and I wanted some way to get more into the game of football, learn about the teams, the players, etc. I was also big into management simulation games like GM modes in Madden, in MLB baseball. So during a forum conversation, I was turned on to this game called Football Manager at the time. It's like, if you like squad building, team building, and just general management, go and try this game out. It was just around the time that FM 2011 was making its way out, so I tried the demo of it, liked what I saw a couple more YouTube videos on it, liked what I saw, and just fell in love with the game from there. And honestly, I attribute at least half of my footballing knowledge with Football Manager, because I wouldn't have known half the players, teams, leagues
Yeah.
around the world if it wasn't for Football Manager.
So do you still play the other games as much now? Your Madden, your baseball, GM modes as much now? Or do you still have time to play those as well?
It's honestly dropped off. It's dropped off a lot since I started playing Football Manager. I think the last time I played a Madden game was about 2 years ago, and that was right before I started into YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah. And obviously now you played five or even six football managers. Where does FM16 rank upon all those other football managers?
I honestly would have to say that FM16 is the best out of the bunch. Now, I gotta say that, starting from FM11 to now, that's a gigantic gap. But between FM15 and FM16, it is a little bit of a growth because of the additions of Create a Club, of Fantasy Draft, that those are in the game standard now. I
Yeah.
think those are steps. I think those are steps in the right direction for the game, but they just need to flesh it out a little bit better. I did like it, and that's what originally got me to pre-order the game right away, was the inclusion of those modes. But I feel like for FM17, that can be expanded upon.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I spoke with a couple of people on this, especially Benji as well, about what they could do to improve it. And there's so much room for manoeuvring that with the drafts, etc. as well. Even I think hate to kind of compare the two, but FIFA this year as well, they're going to be doing a lot more with the drafts. They're building different teams as challenges and stuff, and I feel that's something Football Manager could do as a different mode as well, drafts challenge mode as such as well, that you could play with your friends. And it will make it easier on the restrictions. Like, we could always, right now, load up FM and say, all right, let's do a Bundesliga draft. But we've kind of got to set all the filters ourselves. But Football Manager and Sports Interactive could automatically add that kind of mode into the game, which would be really fun as a whole as well.
Cuts down on a lot of time setting up the prep work.
Exactly. And even with the budget, or you should be able to do all sorts of budgets, a limited budget and so on as well. But yeah, draft was it has been fun. But as I say, there's a lot of room for manoeuvre in that as well. So Brian, going back to your YouTube and your Twitch, what series have you done on both of those medias for channels for yourself?
Right. Well, I haven't done a lot of series within Football Manager 16 this year. It's been relegated to a lot of long-term saves. I've only done one on Twitch, and that has been the British Steel Challenge. Now, for those of you who do not know what the British Steel Challenge is, I need to try and win all 38 playable trophies in the base game in England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and Northern Ireland. Now, the restrictions on that are I cannot have any coaching badges or past playing experience, though I can, get the coaching badges along the way. I just can't start with any of them. I need to either start unemployed or with a team. But the biggest restriction is I can only use players from those 5 nations. So their primary nationality has to be English, Scottish, Welsh, Irish, or Northern Irish.
Wow, that is difficult indeed. I remember we spoke last time. So say if you had an Argentinian player in a youth intake, what would you have to do with that particular player?
If you inherit anybody by taking over a team, or if a player comes in through a youth intake, you got to either sell them off, loan them out, stick them in the reserves. They cannot be within your match day squad. You cannot play them or even be tempted to play them whatsoever. It's like a nationalistic challenge in that you have a limited amount of a player base to use. And it's a nice Yeah, I'm sorry. It's also a nice alternative to the Pentagon Challenge because it is a globe hopper, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah, of course, and you got probably a lot more trophies to win as a whole as well. So, how much have you done out of the required trophies then?
Well, since we last spoke, I actually won a couple more. I'm now 22 out of 38 trophies completed, and I've been working at this for 6 months plus at this point. So it's been a long time, but for a challenge like this, it's going to take a long time. This isn't something you can bang out in a month. It's going to take you quite a bit of playthrough.
So, have you got into any big European tournaments such as Europa League or Champions League within the save, with any team in any of the nations?
The only competitions that I've gotten into has been the Europa League, and that was when I was sitting in Ireland when I was taking St. Pat's Athletic. Yeah. Because if for Ireland you can only get in. You can only get into the Champions League by winning the league, and that was one of the last things I did at that nation, and then I just left after that, moving on to greener pastures.
So, do you feel, or have you noticed that the home nations have improved in international ranking during the save, or has it not varied to that much?
Wales has definitely upped itself in national ranking, same with Ireland. But Northern Ireland, Scotland kind of remain the same. England kind of stays around top 15, top 20 every year. So, yeah, I'd say the biggest jumps have been Ireland and Wales.
Yeah, it's just always interesting to know, obviously, that if you're having to play all kind of British players in a squad and you're kind of eliminating those kind of foreign players, it would always be interesting to see, as a national team, if they would improve as such anyway. But on YouTube, is it West Ham save that you've done this year?
On YouTube, I have
Sheffield
done 2.
As well. Yeah, of course.
Correct. Yeah, I did 2 saves. I did a West Ham United save, which is basically try and the main goal was that to try and win the Premier League with West Ham because they've never done it before. Yeah. So that was the initial goal, and then anything else that came with it, cups, European glory, that was come second. Ultimately, did not get that. So that was a failed challenge on that part. But the other series that I'm working on right now is Sheffield FC, the world's first and oldest continuously running football club and to get them all the way up into the Premier League. They start out in level 8, so yeah, I have to use a database. Shout out to FM Steve, the FM editor, for providing me with a level 11 database to use. They start out level 8, and I need to get up to the Premier League. I just got them up into the championship now, so I figure within the next 2-3 seasons, hopefully before FM 17 drops, I can fulfill that goal, get them up into the Premier League.
Wow. And have you set yourself any restrictions on that particular save as well?
That challenge had no restrictions. That was just get as many good players as possible to fill out your roster, because Sheffield, even all the way up into League One, has a 1.5-star reputation as a club. So you're not attracting all the big names. You have to rely on the middle of the road at best players to make it work.
And who do you feel your best player is, or your best signing that you've made during the series?
The best signing that I've made so far, you'll actually be seeing it in the next episode. It's a couple of wingers that have far surpassed anybody that has that I've ever had speed-wise. But wow. as for current signings, most of my players have been regens at this point. So it's been a 25-year-old by the name of Anthony Steer. He's been with us since Vanarama National North. So He's been with us for about 6 years now. He's racked up over 100 league goals and has been a one-man wrecking crew for us. He's been the catalyst of our offense for the last 5-6 years.
It's always good to get someone at those lower levels as well that you always know is going to be able to grow into the higher leagues. I mean, I remember when I did a journeyman save last year, and there were players which were low championship, high League One quality, which I managed to get into a team that had just come up from the conference. And from there onwards, really, our team was so strong. To be able to attract those sort of players is always good, and it's really satisfying on the game as well. So for FM 17, Brian, have you got any plans for the Twitch or the YouTube channel as well?
Well, as of right now, I don't really have a YouTube video explaining it yet, but I have a couple of ideas. I don't know if I'm going to actually have anything for the beta this time, but if I do, it's going to be taking a middle-of-the-road UEFA team, so say like a Serbia, Croatia, Poland, take a Champions League team out of those nations and see how far we can go in the Champions League for like 2-3 seasons. See if we can grow that team and, in effect, that coefficient to see how well that nation does. That's something I've been playing around with, not something I've locked down yet. Another save that I have definitely locked down is going to be an informational MLS save. I know MLS is not really a big thing. It doesn't really get looked highly upon, mostly because a lot of people don't understand the rules. So what I want to try and do is take over a club and not just, see how well we do in the MLS and the CONCACAF Champions League, but at least bring some bit of information and some knowledge to the save so that anybody else who wants to pick up an MLS save can take a look at my series, understand it, and then go and try and replicate success on their side.
Yeah, and I think even if you didn't want to do that as a series, you could play a season yourself, and in major parts throughout the series, you could even do a how-to and record these separate videos on, say, how-to Football Manager MLS, and I think they would do really, really well, because I've looked at it myself, and the whole draft system and stuff at the start of the season really did confuse me. Players were released that had just signed and stuff like that in the end. But
Super Draft, the waiver wire, all the different rules, designated players, international slots, and whatnot. I feel like that would be a good series to lay out what the MLS is, how it runs, how anyone can get into it.
So do you feel that you understand the rules quite well for the MLS?
I've understood the rules somewhat. There are a couple of things that I need to continue researching on, like discovery player rules. That's something that has just come into MLS within the last couple of years, so I need to get more familiar with that. But a lot of the rules for MLS, I feel like I have it locked down knowledge-wise that I can explain.
And for the Twitch, are you going to do another kind of challenge again?
Well, one challenge I've been playing around with, thought-wise, is something that was developed between myself and another American Twitch streamer by the name of NC Jester. We were thinking of doing what is a Scandinavian challenge, much like the British Steel Challenge, but more towards the Nordic countries. So Denmark, Finland, Norway, Sweden, Iceland. Try and replicate the same thing on British Steel and take it to the Nordic countries and see if we can win all of the domestic leagues and cups there.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting as well. And I mean, I think challenges now as such, I haven't seen a lot of them done this year on Football Manager as well. I mean, on Twitch, you see them a lot more. So you got yourself with the British Steel Challenge, seen a few people do the Pentagon Challenge, seen the odd person do the Sir Alex Ferguson Challenge. But other than that, challenges have seemed to die down a little bit on Football Manager, and I think it does need new ones, such as the Scandinavian Challenge or what have you.
Right. Not like Sir Alex Ferguson, the Defug or the Food Challenge, however you pronounce that.
Yeah, and I feel that I know my internet's playing up a little bit. Can you hear me okay still? Yeah.
I was gonna say that's okay. Take a little bit of a break, pause, and then get right back into it.
Yeah, I can see my Skype keeps popping up with the internet. All right, let's go again. But yeah, as I say, that the challenges and so on, they used to be quite popular. I used to go on FM Base and so on, and they used to have loads of challenges on there. As I say, the Sir Alex Ferguson Challenge, you got the Pentagon Challenge or Hexagon Challenge, you know, the British Steel Challenge, like you said, but like new ones like the Scandinavian Challenge and so on as well. And I think people could get into it a lot more, and I think that's something I wanted to look into myself. I think for Twitch, challenges are a lot easier to do because you always on it continuously. To do a sort of British Steel Challenge on YouTube would be so repetitive, stopping all the time to record. I feel that would be a little bit annoying. But as you say, for Twitch, you're on it kind of all the time, so no
stream of conscious thoughts, stream of gameplay, continuously moving. It just feels like it flows better on Twitch than it would in a YouTube series.
Yeah, exactly. For a long-term challenge, definitely. Yeah. And Brian, for viewing pleasure and so on, who have been your favourite Football Manager YouTubers or streamers this year?
Well, you have to go with the mainstays in Jack Work the Space and Dr. Ben GFM. I've tried to get as much view time out of them as possible. But for other viewerships that I've taken a look at, I've watched Toxic Lemon, Jordan. I've watched Cappers. I've taken a look at Keepers every now and then, Loki Doki. There's several others that I try to, at least watch one episode per day and try and catch up on some of their series. But it's just, I'm trying to surround myself within FM viewership so I can understand how people, how they do their videos, how I can translate it into doing my videos, try and take a little bit of everybody else's and try to add my own style, make it my own, and make myself have better content. Try and build my content like that.
Definitely. And do you feel that there's anyone that you know of that you feel is underrated and deserves more viewership or subscribers?
Well, I'm definitely not going to say Jordan because I feel like he's no longer underrated. He's definitely pushing himself up. He's starting to become one of those leading content producers in Football Manager. I think this next year he's going to have himself a breakout year. But as far as underrated, I would consider a YouTuber by the name of Dare FM. I don't know if you've heard him before, but he is a prodigy or a wealth of knowledge of German and Austrian Bundesliga football, and he's got himself his own blog too, where he creates tactics as well as talk about the Bundesliga. I feel like if you need to know anything German or Austrian, he is your guy, and I recommend watching his stuff.
Perfect. And if anyone came to you, Brian, and asked for tips on starting up a Twitch or YouTube channel, what sort of tips would you give them?
If I had to give somebody advice on either YouTube or Twitch, especially before FM17 is about to drop in about a month's time, I say get yourself started, start making content so at least you have a base of where you start yourself out, so that once the game drops, once FM17 drops, you can have yourself the confidence going into this new game and creating content. At least you already know that you've done it for about a month and you can only grow from there. So I'd say get yourself started right now. And if it's at all possible, do like what have been doing. watching YouTube, watching Twitch of other content creators, see how their style plays out, try and incorporate it into your own style so it's kind of a hybrid of the two, make it your own, own it, and go after it.
Perfect. Brian, thanks a lot for jumping on season review. It's been a pleasure talking to you today about your Twitch and YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked out Brian before, make sure you subscribe to his YouTube. You can follow him on his Twitch as well. The links to that will be in the description down below. Smash that like button as well. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm sure I'll catch you all very soon.